Okay. Hi, everyone. Welcome to the Q&A for the closing film of the 25th Seattle Queer Film Festival. I'm Rachel Brister. I am a former executive director, actually, of $3 Bill Cinema. And I did the public relations for the festival this year, and I'm very excited to be here. And I'd like to introduce Franco and Jen. If you guys I would like to introduce yourselves. Just maybe say hi to the people.
Sure. Hi, people. I'm Jen Rainin. I directed Ahead of the Curve. It's the first film I ever directed, and I'm out of my mind excited and honored to be the closing night film. It's so cool.
Hi, I'm Franco. I'm the subject of the film and the founder of Curve Magazine.
And my personal hero.
Thank you both. Oh. Thank you both for being here and for participating. We're thrilled that we were able to put this as our closing film and to have you enlighten us on some more things about the film. So I want to start, I'm going to just get my fangirl moment out of the way, if I may. I didn't tell you this ahead of time, I probably should have. So as I was watching the film, I started thinking about my first issue of Curve, which at the time was Deneuve, and I remembered it, and I had to do a little Googling to figure out when it was. My first issue was the Tracy Lords cover of Deneuve.
Wow.
Which was
something like...
Yeah, some beautiful stylized thing.
Yeah, it was, she's in profile.
Yes.
And I mean, she looks like a 40s pinup. I mean, like gorgeous, stunning, black and white. It was from August 1995, and I had just come out of the closet maybe 6 months prior. I don't even remember, but I was in college.
6 years old?
Yes, clearly.
What?
I said, were you like 6 years old?
Oh, gosh. Thank you. No. I was a sophomore in college in 1995. It's the curls. They make me look young, whatever. So I just, watching this film, and going back through to prepare for today's Q&A, I have to say, like, I just never realized what I had. So I'll thank you now, and I'll thank you at the end too. But like, not when you're going through it, you don't realize. I mean, it's like, the whole hindsight is 20/20 cliche, but it's a cliche because it's true. And I never knew that. In my hand when I picked up that magazine at, I think it might have been Barnes and Noble. And then, started subscribing and basically just got it for years and years and years. I never knew how much it was a part of my coming out and my sort of gay growing up, if you will. Also working in lesbian and gay at the time, and now most of them are LGBT or queer film festivals, which I've been doing since the late 90s. It's been amazing to watch the juxtaposition of the visibility conversation about Deneuve and Curve and lesbian media in this documentary in a film festival that also so many queer film festivals started because of wanting to bring that visibility to the forefront and to have people connect with each other and to be able to see yourself on screen. So I just have to thank you for that. And that's another reason why I was so excited that this film was a closing film of the film festival, because it's almost like it's the perfect recipe for a film festival film. So thank you. And I'm wondering if you had thought about that at all as you were, making the film, but then also, because I know as the story started to shift, like any kind of parallels between the film festival world and audience with the lesbian media and with the Curve, genesis and audience?
Well, it's really interesting that you bring up, that up because, everyone's having such a hard time now. You're having a virtual film festival and people are adjusting to that. Media is taking a huge hit, not just because of COVID, but because of, the internet and how we like to get our media now. And people don't support the media that they love, won't be around. Just like if people don't support our queer spaces, they won't be around. I was reading an article, believe it or not, in Curve the other day. It said there were 16 lesbian bars left in the United States. Did you read that too?
I did read that too, because then I scrolled down to the comments because I read it on the website, and I scrolled down to the comments, and there was a couple comments where people were like, "Wait, you missed this one. You missed this." Not many, but there was a handful.
Okay.
But it's not like there's, I think maybe it was 5 additional or 4 additional, not like obviously tens of additional bars.
That's really good. I mean, I know that some of the ones that I read on the list weren't specifically, geared towards women. So, just trying to reiterate that, like, if we don't take care of the things that are important to us, they go away.
Yeah, and I mean, I really feel like queer festivals are a pillar of our community. Like it's an important institution to maintain across the country. I mean, I think our queer festivals are really, really important.
Especially one that's as old as yours.
That's right.
Well, yeah, I mean, but similar to Curve, like having, so many decades, and also like the Lesbian Bar here in Seattle has been around for over 30 years. I mean, there are these, we're at this moment where there's these pillars of our community in so many different forms, whether it's visual or a human form or media that, need to be appreciated even more, and there's something needs to be done. It's hard to know what, but making a film like this, I'll bring it full circle, clearly is part of the process. So I'm curious, Jen, if you could talk about like the origin of the film, how you decided to do this, the fact that you guys did it together as a couple, which is wonderful.
Well, we did not do it as a couple. This was the Jen and Rivka, who's the co-director.
Yes, this beautiful creature next to me gave me so much room to create this film, to tell this story the way that I wanted to tell it, and just put so much trust in me and in Rivka to tell it well and to honor the community. And so, yeah, no, she's always very careful to say this was not her. So anyway, but yeah, the film. I mean, the idea for the film came about when, shortly after we were married. I mean, you still owned Curve at the time, but not too long after the wedding, we were moving to sell it. And so I certainly knew about the magazine. I mean, we met at a Curve holiday party. So I was aware, but I really didn't know the backstory. And I was curious. I mean, it's fascinating. And I would ask questions, and, and she would sort of drop these little stories in my lap, like, oh, I mean, it was really hard to convince anybody to fund me. I had been living in my car, I didn't have any money. The banks laughed me out the door, and nobody in the community would give me any money. So to get the money to start the magazine, I took out 12 credit cards in one day, and I went to the racetrack and bet on the horses. Like stories like that. And, and I thought, what? Who does that? So I kept asking for more stories, and she just, I mean, even today I'm asking for more stories. And it's such a great, crazy story. And I thought, this would make a terrific fiction film. I should write a screenplay. So I started writing a screenplay. And in doing the research for the screenplay, what I really realized was how hard it was to find documentary film and really strong, solid documentation of our queer women role models. I mean, I was looking there was just so little out there, and I started realizing that there was an imperative for me to tell this as a nonfiction story first, at least. So that's how it came to be. And then we just wanted to do it. We were just going to tell the historical story. So we launched down the path, and we were probably, I don't know, 3/4 of the way through. We were shooting interviews and then using a ton of archival footage, which you got to see in the film. But we're well close to done with production, and Franco got this email from the current owner of the magazine saying, "Gosh, I'm so sorry to tell you this. It looks like I think we might not be able to keep the magazine going for more than another year or so. You want to help me think through like what it might become?" And it turned the whole direction of the film. It opened everything up. It brought us into present day. We started to film in real time, and it was amazing. Actually, I think it's what makes the film so easy to understand the connection between what happened in the 90s and today. Ooh, that was a lot of words.
I had no idea. I mean, not that I would know, but based like watching the film, the way you've edited it, it almost feels like you got that email and had that phone call with the current publisher of Curve early on in creating this film, and it changed your path. But I had no idea that you were like pretty much almost done, which makes me want to see more, because I'm guessing that there was a lot you had to cut in order to change the story, not change the story, but bring in this new path and this, so I have to also, sorry, I'm asking two questions at once. The sort of present day activists that you seek out, was that part of the original plan?
No, we were poking around and considering, who we knew we wanted to tie the historical story to what's happening today. And we were doing some research and trying to figure out who was out there doing work in the style of, or in the same kind of a way that Franco did in the 90s, but we hadn't really connected how this was going to work.
I don't think that was part of the storyline.
It wasn't really. It didn't make it in.
There was also
figured out.
Yeah, there was also quite a few women that we would have loved to have profiled, but there's just so, it's a small amount of space.
Time. Yeah, more time constraints, space constraints. And then to your point about all that had to be cut, because it had been an entirely historical story, there are some chunks of historical that had to come out. So they'll just have to go into the fiction version.
So we have a question from someone who's watching. I love the film and I really love the queer festival footage. Was that footage ever shown as part of a different project or show?
Nope, that is original footage.
Excellent.
And Jen likes to say that I like to keep things. Although she's still,
Well, yeah, I think he was asked that question. I think was about the like Klexicon and Lesbians Who Tech. I'm pretty sure that's right. So that stuff was all original, and then all the archival pretty much came out of our garage.
That was actually a question that I have on my list of questions, was about like the archives that you must have, whether it's the magazine itself, your video footage, like the talk show footage. I mean, there must be so much. I'm curious, has anyone ever approached you about like archiving it, putting it in an archive? Have you ever thought about wanting to do that? Or can I suggest that maybe you do that someday?
Well, that question has a couple different angles. When I was selling the magazine, we did send off quite a bit of stuff to the different lesbian archives. We had somebody who was, I wouldn't say an archivalist, but that was where her heart was, working in the office. And it's a good thing she did, because we had a storage unit full of stuff that all got ruined. That is, it's gone. It's not digitized. It's not anywhere. In fact, Jen had to really look high and low to get every single issue of the magazine, so she would have it.
That's true. We had a lot of them, but it was by no means a complete set.
We'd have like 10 of one and none of another.
Right. Yeah, but we have a complete set now, which is great. And there is a Curve archive at the June Mazer Archives in LA. So that was
excellent,
helpful. for sure. They're wonderful, completely volunteer run, amazing organization. Yeah.
That's great. I'm glad to hear, because it is something like similar to wanting to document history, like the paper stuff has to stick around too. And I know so many people are just like, well, what do I do with all this? And it's hard. It's difficult. I mean, I know I got rid of so many magazines. I remember having like, yeah, it kills me to think about it. I also was curious if, Jen, did you learn anything that totally surprised you, or I mean, shocked is not really the right word necessarily, but maybe shocked could be used. But was there anything you were like, oh my God, I had no idea?
Well, I got to talk with all her old girlfriends. Although I will say nothing there shocked or surprised me. I mean, the fact that that all these folks from forever in her life are still so closely connected and singing her praises is a testament to the way that you move through the world.
I also think when you create something like Danube or Curve, with people that are just putting forth everything that they have, I don't want to say it's like going through war together, but I do definitely feel like those people should and shall be in my life forever.
I think that's right. Yeah. But as far as what surprised us or shocked us, there were a few things. I was surprised at how many young people are using the term lesbian. That was surprising. I think we both went into that panel at Klexicon expecting, well, first of all, maybe expecting nobody to come.
I was like, who's going to show up at this?
So that was good that people showed up, but also that there were so many young women who were identifying lesbian, and how much also we as a community, I think, need to talk about it, and we need to be talking cross-generationally. Like, that conversation in that room was so rich. It really, it just really brought home for me how critically important it is for us to keep talking, to keep having this conversation, so that the people who are coming up now can understand their lineage, like where you come from and what came before. And I don't know. I mean, I think for me, there's a lot of pride there, and a lot of lessons learned the hard way that maybe the people coming up now don't have to learn the hard way. Anyway, and also,
yeah, I think that's sorry, go ahead.
Oh, I was just gonna say, and it goes both ways. I mean, I think the people coming up now also see things in a different way than we did, maybe because they haven't had to fight for some of the things that we had to fight for when we were their age. And so they're able to be more evolved in ways that that we need to move into. We need to embrace a little more. So anyway, great conversations came out of it for sure.
We have another question from someone who's watching. What do you see as the future for how we can build community, and who do you see as strong queer leaders?
Oh my goodness.
Well, I think that we can build community by being the ones to tell our own stories. And I think that was what was great about this film, is that, the crew was all
female or non-binary identified. Yeah. Everyone on the crew, which were the bomb. It was the best way to make a movie, gotta say.
And, at the end of the movie, it does talk about how we're creating the Curve Foundation to tell our stories and continue the original mission of Curve. And with that, we're looking for who are the next level of, activists in our community, and to help them get their message out and to give them a platform and some money to do that.
I gotta say, I mean, I really was inspired by the women who are in the film. Andrea Pino Silva, who is just such a spectacular, outspoken badass. Oh my gosh.
Denise Froman.
Yeah. Denise Froman. Kim Catron and Amber Hikes. I mean, these people are doing such incredible work. I just was filled with hope, honestly.
And when I look back at the old issues of the magazine, I think, oh, we really could have done better with representation in a broader sense. And, now we have the ability to do that. So hopefully, we're.
I don't know.
You did.
Yeah, go
Go
ahead.
ahead. You did do, I have to say, like, you're right. I mean, I think we can all look back and think in the 90s and very early 2000s, the attention wasn't paid in the same way. But the comment that I think you made, Frank, about when I started the magazine, or when you started doing more and more issues and wanting to make sure that so many different facets of the lesbian community were pictured, like, that's another thing where I think, like, God, I never even noticed that. And if I had the magazines in front of me, I would flip through it and be like, wow, so that's someone actually that looks like me, that's not like, that is more curvy, or someone who is more femme, and there's not, you had so many different, not just definitely from race and ethnicity, but also just from the different ways that we represented ourselves as lesbians in the 90s, especially in the late 90s and in the 2000s, or the aughts, I guess they're called. It's hard for me to say that. I don't embrace it. So, and also what the way that you embraced the trans men and women in the community, I think, was also amazing at the time. And, definitely not the status quo, I think, of the lesbian community. So
Thank you.
I just want to say that.
Conclusion was definitely not by mistake. It was very intentional. And, now as a disabled person, I look for myself in media, and I think, oh gosh, need to be more inclusive even still. Definitely.
Still hard to find. Yeah. I think I just want to, I don't know, shout out my favorite column in the magazine.
What does a lesbian look like?
This is what a lesbian looks like. That's it. And it was one page, and it was gorgeous and completely different every single issue. I loved it. It just showed such incredible variety. Nice job. Thanks.
I think we could benefit from that kind of, I mean, it's around now almost so much that you don't notice it in the same way, because you have social media and the internet, and our community is just much more visible. But to be able to actually have that, like, this is what blank looks like. I think it's very powerful. And I understand that labeling is an issue, and it's not something that everyone is always embracing of, but it was powerful then. And I think there's still a place for it, obviously looking in a different way, which brings me to wanting to know what's next for y'all. Like, what, Jen, this was your first film. So have you caught the bug? Do you want more?
Yes, it is highly addictive.
She just full on drank the Kool-Aid.
I'm all in. Yeah. So Rivka, my co-director and producer, Rivka Beth Meadow, and I realized in making this film, I mean, first of all, we had the time of our lives. I mean, really, it was a ton, and continues to be a ton of work, but it was so fun and so rewarding to be able to add our voice to queer women's movement in this way. And so we decided to start a production company called Frankly Speaking Films.
And that's awesome.
Our whole goal is to make more and more and more stories that center strong queer women. So that is what we're doing. And we've been executive producing a couple of feature docs. We have a short doc that's almost done with production already, which amazingly we've been able to do during pandemic. And we are excitingly writing a pilot for a miniseries. So that's what's happening.
That's awesome. Congrats. That's great.
It's so fun. I'm having the time of my life.
And I'm trying to get both of us together. We're starting the Curve Foundation along with the current publisher of Curve, and some amazing
with the help of Kate Kendall
from National Center for Lesbian Rights.
Yeah. Yeah.
XED from
XED.
Yeah.
From,
Oh yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
She's
Yeah.
awesome.
So we're busy.
Yep.
We got a lot going on.
That's great. We have another question. Probably have to wrap up in a few minutes. Do you consider yourselves to be activists? And do you have any advice for people who want to advocate for LGBTQ visibility?
Yes. I think for us to be activists, absolutely. I wonder, did you consider yourself to be an activist when you were making the magazine?
I did, and I was also, members of, other grassroots activist organizations in my very little spare time when not making a magazine. And the other part of the question was, do we have any advice for people?
Mm-hmm.
My advice is that you can make a difference. It doesn't matter if you're, 15 or 75, if you have money, if you don't have money. If you want to see something out there, stop asking for permission, stop waiting for someone else to do it.
That's it.
I was 22 years old when the first magazine came out. 2 years earlier, I'd lived in my car. I didn't have a penny to my name somehow. 30 years later, here we are in the,
Yeah. And you did it really initially to meet your own needs.
Right.
Yeah.
Exactly.
So I think, that thing that like not waiting for somebody to give you permission thing, that's one of my big learnings from you. Just
you can't feel bad if you try something and it doesn't work out.
Yeah.
But you'll definitely have regrets if you think of something.
Right.
Never try it.
Yep, exactly.
Yeah. And if you try something and it doesn't work out, you learned something. So actually it did work out, just didn't work out the way you thought. You'll be surprised eventually how it all knits together. The old lady.
Thank you. I think that's fabulous advice, honestly. And I think it's the perfect point for us to end this Q&A for our closing night film. Thank you so much, Jen. Thank you, Franco. Thank you, Brad, for being our ASL interpreter. And our sponsors, Chambord Liqueur and Tequila Herradura. And just thank you for being here. Thank you for giving us this film and for sharing your story. And I hope that there's more. It sounds like there's definitely more, and I can't wait to see it. So thank you both.
Thanks so much for having us. It's such an honor. Have a wonderful night, everybody.
Thank you.